We are live. Hello, everybody, or nobody, or whoever's watching, or will be watching, or was watching in another life. We are here to talk about Black Christmas. Yes, another 70s, mid to late 70s horror slasher classic. Although Carrie wasn't really a slasher movie, but I guess it depends on how you look at it with the ending on that. But
it's definitely not. Carrie's definitely not a slasher. It's more of a psychic thriller than anything else. But Black Christmas is, along with Bay of Blood, which was directed by Mario Bava in 1971, probably the greatest influence on what has become known as the 80s slasher genre, which of course really got kicked off with the success of Halloween in 79.
Yeah. So the Halloween movies were a little bit creepier because that was more stalkery. You know what I mean? I remember the most creepy thing about it is just like he just kept coming. It's just
always... of course, he was a juggernaut. Yeah,
right.
Like the Terminator years later. Absolutely.
Right.
It's like the dark side of Superman.
Right. Just really crazy. So you want to give them some setup? I mean, this is the movie. By the way, this is the movie that he picked this time. So,
yes.
So don't blame me for picking another movie from the 70s, because usually it's not my fault this time.
well, I think this is a very special movie. I think that this is a great movie. I think it's a classic in many respects, and it's been remade twice. There was a recent woke version which didn't do very well. I haven't seen any of the remakes. I'm not really big on keeping up with the recent crop of remakes, because they're just remaking stuff just to have like the title or whatever. Yes, this was directed by Bob Clark, who previously had directed a zombie movie called Creatures Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Clark was a guy from the South. He also later probably is most famous for Porky's and Porky's 2, which were, the horny teenager movies from the 80s.
Classics.
Yeah. He also was... It's funny to say the director of A Christmas Story, which is probably his most famous movie. So yeah, he made what's considered one of the great Christmas movie standards, A Christmas Story, and he made this Black Christmas, which I know sounds like a death metal title or something. But it is really I think, an outstanding film. It's something that improves with multiple viewings. You pick up things that you didn't notice the first time. And I think that there are moments in this that are really uniquely eerie. It was shot in Canada. Legend has it also that this was Elvis's favorite Christmas movie. That he would... Yeah. Although Elvis died in 77, so there was only maybe like 3 Christmases that he screened this on Christmas.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's a lot of drugs involved in that decision making, probably.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt. So who's in this? We got Olivia Hussey, who was cast as Juliet in Romeo and Juliet when she was 15 years old, I want to say. And we've got Keir Dullea. My French is really bad. I'm really bad at pronouncing French names. But Keir Dullea is probably easily best known for 2001: A Space Odyssey. You got John Saxon in this. The legendary John Saxon, who's been in countless TV shows.
Everything in the 70s and 80s.
Everything in the 70s and 80s. Enter the Dragon, of course. Was one of Bruce Lee's students. He doesn't kick any ass in this, but he definitely brings some machismo to the screen. And also, this is really the first seasonal slasher movie. Later on you had stuff like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Prom Night, Mother's Day, Graduation Day, My Bloody Valentine, Silent Night, Deadly Night, which produced, I think, 4 or 5 sequels. And let's see, Happy Birthday to Me. Well, that's not seasonal. April Fool's Day. But yeah, this is where the seasonal slasher subgenre began. And I think if you watch this, you'll see little elements of this that are in a lot of other horror films.
Yeah.
Oh, and also
like sorority slashers. I mean,
oh yeah.
Those.
Oh yeah. And this is inspired, I should say, by an actual crime or series of crimes that were committed in Canada, where I think the killer, I think murdered some sorority girls. I don't know if it was in the house, but years and years later, the killer was found, and it was Ted Bundy.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah, very creepy. Got some nice Christmas music going.
Yeah, definitely.
Love to put you in the mood.
In the mood for horror slasher.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. There are a surprising number of Christmas-related horror movies. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because the English have a tradition of telling horror stories and ghost stories on Christmas Eve. And there's just something about, I don't know, Christmas and horror that just seem to go together, like peanut butter and chocolate.
Isn't like horror and Christmas kind of connected Scandinavian?
Oh, and German folklore a little bit too, of course. You know, you have the character of Krampus. Everybody knows who Krampus is now. There are multiple Krampus movies. He's the guy who comes for you if you've been a naughty boy or girl.
If you've been naughty.
You've been naughty and you need to be punished. In fact, actually, right now this is a total non sequitur. They're having a problem in Germany and parts of Scandinavia because, like, you know how we have a problem here with the Santa mobs, right? It started out as something where it was a bunch of hipsters getting dressed up as Santa Claus and all like invading bars and jumping turnstiles, that sort of a thing. Well, the frat boys took that over in a big way, and now every year in Christmas you'll see like Santa Clauses like vomiting and beating each other up in the streets. It's
they call that the Santa crawl here.
Gotcha.
Crawl, but it's bar crawl. You know, they go from bar to bar and
yeah. And like in Europe and Scandinavia now, they're having a problem with like Krampus crawls.
The outfits alone must be interesting. Like
yeah, they are, and certainly the street festivals.
Hey, we got Zaid Comics in the house. Hail, brother. Hail,
yo, good to have you. Thanks for tuning in to listen to us carry on about old horror movies.
Yeah, we just, you know, we bullshit about this kind of stuff, like, you know, anyways. We figure we might as well like make a show out of it.
Hell yeah. Why not? So I see Kitty behind you.
Yeah, that's Salty.
Aw. Okay.
He's lining up for the little cat bed right here, so he's gonna lay down and.
I have one of those too. Keeps him from walking across your keyboard. No, I mean, I don't have a cat right now. I lost my buddy Figaro this year, but you know, hopefully in the coming year when I'm done grieving. You want
me to ship you one of mine? I got a extra.
Look at this. Salty looks like a cutie pie.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely have a soft spot for cats. To me, it's like a catless home isn't a home. It's like the soul of the house is missing. But okay, where shall we get started with this? Should we get started with the basic plot?
Yeah, why don't you lay it down for everybody who's watching?
All right, sorority house in Canada, although it's never explicitly we're never explicitly told that it's in Canada. This was shot in Canada, and it doesn't pretend to be made anywhere else. But anyway, we're in Canada, and there's a sorority house, and it's Christmas break.
Is there a hockey scene or something in there that kind of suggests that it's Canada? Don't they like go over that?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right about this. I've seen this movie like 100 times, but I haven't seen it like this year. No, I did see it this year. But anyway,
I watched it today, to refresh myself while I was doing other shit. So
right. So sorority girls ready to go on their Christmas vacations, but some of the girls have decided that they're not going to go home. They want to stay at the sorority house and party. 1974 sexual revolution. These girls just want to have fun. Nothing wrong with that. But there is a rather sinister figure who we see at the very beginning of the film scaling the side of the sorority house, I think through a trellis, right? Those things that have like the vines growing through them, and establishes his base camp in their attic. This is also the very first The Call is Coming from Inside the House movie.
You can start telling when the movie starts, he's basically stalking the house through the windows, and he sees that they have a party, and then he and then it basically establishes some characters as he works his way into the house. He starts like that, and I guess they left that he was coming in the front door, but he got caught, and then decided to come in a different way.
Yep. I don't think he was coming in through. Yeah, I don't think he was coming in through the front door, but he was checking the place out.
Yeah, well, they said something about the front door being open. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, he comes in through the attic.
The beginning of this will be very, very familiar to anyone that's seen John Carpenter's Halloween. And remember, this was made 5 years before.
Yeah. What's funny is I actually was running this fine before we had streaming going on.
We're cursed.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. No, we're just having a little party.
Margot Kidder?
No. Come on, I'm not drunk.
Fresh off her appearance in Brian De Palma's classic Sisters.
And then I was just going to get the
I think that the like some of the best dialogue in the whole movie is like her conversation with her mom. It's like the deepest part of the whole freaking movie.
Yes.
Is that one little block of dialogue.
Yes, and then of course the prank that she pulls on the cop.
Right.
Which is a really funny scene.
Well, why can't I come too? Well, who the hell is he? You're a real.
Right.
It's also the 70s because a man's wearing a fur coat.
Right. and yeah, that's funny. So the first suspenseful jump scare. You guys already know we do spoilers here, so if you're watching.
Yes. Kitty. Floofy.
Oh, this just sucks with the video. We're gonna have to figure a way around this. Like I gotta find out like stuff they let me download or something,
Or I have to mail you copies of DVDs or something like that. Or you can hear that music. Very, very odd, disturbing score to this. The composer, whose name escapes me, created the music for this by playing piano strings with forks and other odd objects to get these rather strange and unnerving sounds.
What? is that?
Darn it! It's like it's like ruins it when you just stalls out. You know what I mean, right?
I know.
You
Yeah,
know,
we have our first murder.
yes.
There's Andrea Martin on the left from SCTV.
Andrea Martin.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Right.
She's been in a bunch of movies, too. Actually, they wanted Gilda Radner to play that part, but she dropped out, like, I think, 10 days or so before filming. And, of course, this movie was shot in Canada. Andrea Martin was part of The Second City, which has a chapter in Canada. You know, most people from SNL and SCTV are former Canadians.
Right. Yeah, it was SCTV, right? That's where John Candy and all them guys came from,
Rick
right?
Moranis and all those cats.
Yeah. The classic funnies that weren't SNL guys.
Yes.
So where do you want to jump next?
Where should we jump next? Oh, well, we should maybe get to the hook scene.
Where's that?
This was originally, when it was first written, way gorier than it is in the movie. This is very similar. It makes an interesting companion piece to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because there's virtually no blood in this.
Yeah, but here there's a little bit, but it's virtually none. You're right, correct.
It's one of those movies where you think it's gorier than it is. You know, it pulls a fast one on you. There's a lot of good editing, sleight of hand. The murders in this are just so brutal, but they are virtually bloodless.
Well, they don't show the blood.
Oh, the phone call. Oh, dude, you should definitely go to the first phone call.
Oh, when they get the phone call, we skipped past that. Let's see.
Yeah, go to that part if you can, because that is a very, very interesting scene. And I wish Bob Clark was still alive so I could ask him. I have some theories about the killer in this.
What, you think he really did this shit in real life?
No. About what the killer's problem is. Why is the killer the way the killer is?
Come on, I was just there. That's the worst thing, man. You click and then you click and then it jumps around and
yeah.
Here, I'll just take hands off and let it play, and we'll just talk.
Okay, that works. Hey, there's Olivia Hussey, looking very, very beautiful. Like I said, I had her first role in Romeo and Juliet when she was like 15, 16 years old.
Right. Although I think her English is better than that.
Yes.
Hello? Hey, quiet! It's him again! The Mona!
Come on.
He's expanded his act. Could that be one person? No, Claire, that's the Mormon Tabernacle Choir doing their annual obscene phone call.
I wonder if...
Well, we can hear the audio. That's the important part here.
Suck my juicy cock. I'll come over and you can suck it. Suck it. Listen, you pervert, why don't you go over to Lamb of Kai? They could use a little of this. Baby cut. You want my fat cock too? Oh, why don't you go find a wall socket and stick your tongue in it? That'll give you a charge. I'll stick my tongue up your pretty pussy. You fucking creep. I'm going to kill you.
There it is.
Super times again. Fast.
Yeah, that's a little creepy.
Very creepy. And Margot Kidder's character, you immediately kind of like her because she gives as good as she gets. The use of the C word, the abundant use of the C word there, required the film to, I think they had to redub some of that scene for certain markets. But if you listen carefully, you can hear, without question, more than one voice.
Right.
And my theory, and this is just a fan theory, is that our slasher is the victim of demonic possession.
That was the impression I got from the phone call.
Right? Yeah. Our name is Legion because we are many.
Now, this was obviously a setup to make this character.
Oh no, not really giving shit away. This is Keir Dullea's character, who is Olivia Hussey's boyfriend, and he comes off as rather unbalanced here because he's basically failing a pianist audition.
Right. A penis audition.
Well, she's out for Christmas holidays, but there was a bad practice over at the high school this afternoon, and Janice plays a clarinet, and when she didn't come home, I phoned Melody Green. That's her.
During that scene, I can't help. Ever since American Pie, man. This one time at band camp,
yeah,
I did always hit my mind. They talks about that girl in her clarinet. It's all I can think about. It's horrible. That's where my mind. Let's see. What next? Yeah, I think it's important to hit like elements like that because that scene with the piano, I mean that sets you up for so much later.
It really does. And it's a very tense scene because of course you could Keir Dullea's character is obviously under a lot of pressure and it does not go well.
Right.
So you feel him in this very much. His character is like a Stephen King character. They're just getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed.
This is it's so funny. Maybe the hide works. There we go. It was covering the StreamYard little addition was covering the scrub bar.
Oh, gotcha.
So I couldn't scrub past it.
And then, of course, we got super manly John Saxon, and so many horror classics when you think about it.
The phones. I mean, those phones are so outdated. I don't even know how many people have phones like that anymore.
Yeah, still rotary phones. Yeah.
Margaret College. She's upstairs asleep. She's not feeling too well.
Is she the one that was at the station today?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let her sleep. Were there any deliveries yesterday, or was anyone working in the house, anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Wasn't he like 1975 sexiest man in Hollywood?
I have no idea. I don't know if they even had that yet. If that's sexiest man alive,
It wasn't like a magazine thing. There was like it was like some kind of like okay. I remember it vaguely, and I remember it like from an actual like documentary, because I don't remember it like live. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And I'm thinking it was 1975. The number seems right to me, but he had been doing all these movies, and I think it was wasn't 1975 right after he did his like because he wasn't in like one of the Planet of the Apes movies or something like that.
He wasn't in any of the Planet of the Apes movies. He may have been on the Planet of the Apes TV series, because he was one of those actors. This was back in the day where you had movie actors and you had TV actors, and you had very few actors that would hop from one to another. Nowadays, of course, it's no big deal. It's a non-issue. But he was one of the few actors that would do TV and movies at the same time. What would he best be known for? I would say he'd be best known probably for Nightmare on Elm Street.
I think no, he was shit. I don't know. I have to. Yeah, the Enter the Dragon movie was probably where he's like best known, but he's just got one of those really like well known faces.
Absolutely.
But he I should have like Googled this shit out, so I would have had the reference in front of me to talk about it, because it just occurred to me when we were just sitting here watching. But yeah, they made a big thing about him because he was like Burt Reynolds, but not dumb. You know what I mean? That's kind of how like they saw him. Like he's like a smart Burt Reynolds.
Oh wow. It would have been interesting to see him in one of those Burt Reynolds car crash movies. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, of course he went on to be in a bunch of Italian horror films, including Tenebrae by Dario Argento, and what else was he in? Cannibal Apocalypse, which he was so depressed during the filming of, he was, according to him, suicidal, and actually ended up giving one of his better performances.
Let's see.
He was on Kung Fu. That was another show that he appeared on as a bounty hunter, I recall.
I just IMDb'd him, and apparently he's got something coming out in 2020.
Oh, God bless him.
Called After the Thunderstorm. He plays Frank.
Nice. Originally born in Brooklyn, by the way.
Yeah. Born in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn in the hizzy.
In the hizzy.
In the his house.
I'm like, it's like some of these movie titles that he is in. I'm like, I don't remember him in those movies. I almost got to watch them again to see if I find him, because he's like one of those faces you see so often in a movie that he almost blends in. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. But his listing on the Internet Movie Database has got to be insane. Yeah, he did very, very well for himself. That's for sure.
Wes Craven's New Nightmares. He plays himself.
Yes. yes. He's in that, which is a very good film, by the way. The best of the Elm Street sequels. And he also was in Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, which is also a very good movie.
Right. The Dream Warriors. It's George, was it Lynch Mob? We're the Dream Warriors.
No, it was Dokken.
It was Dokken.
Don't want to dream no more.
Yeah,
baby, tonight you'll be gone. Which was actually a really good song. It was actually a catchy song.
Was famous at the time. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lieutenant Thompson. That was the character name. Lieutenant Thompson.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now he's Vegas. Remember that series, the TV series Vegas?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, he was a lot of westerns.
Oh, a lot of old Western TV series, that's for sure. Let's see.
Including Gunsmoke, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Roper was the Enter the Dragon character name. I was trying to remember that.
Yep. Yeah, he's the gambler, the guy that Mr. Han, the supervillain, tries to bring over to the dark side because he figures that he's his kind of a guy. But it turns out that he has a moral line that he won't cross. And I always enjoyed those kinds of characters. Basically bad guys or criminals who aren't bad guys. People who still have a code and like a certain line they won't cross.
Oh man! Oh,
we're getting killed here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I'm just trying to like think about like what part of the movie to jump to next.
The hook murder for sure.
I'm trying to remember where that's at.
In the attic. I think that's the second. I think that's the second kill, actually.
But isn't the second kill the house mother?
Yes. She's the one who gets the hook.
Okay, then that's right here.
And it's interesting looking at the scene now. I just remember seeing it as a kid, and it just seemed so much more gruesome.
Yeah. It would have at the time too,
Absolutely. Now, of course, we're used to seeing extreme gore effects on just like cable TV.
Right, we have higher expectations of what's considered to be scary. He doesn't even show it. We'll get to hear it though.
Yes, and that's the voice of Nick Mancuso, actually. And in order to get his voice like that, he would stand on his head, and that would sort of tighten his larynx. And evidently, he reprised the role of Billy for the Blu-ray edition of this, which for the commentary track. But that's a scene that shows that the killer is clearly fighting what's inside of him.
I just want to show it because it's friggin',
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, I mean, that part of what we can try to do here is, show. There we go. Show the style of how they do this. You know what I mean? But
it's beautifully shot, especially the POV scenes.
It's hard to show those when it's doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although, you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see a horror movie done in a one shot. That would be cool. All one shot. That would be really cool.
Oh yeah, well, like one take. You mean like Rope? Although I think Hitchcock's Rope was 2 takes, because they had to change the film.
Anybody there?
Was the hook right before that? Here we go. Let's just go from there.
That looks like it's at the bottom.
Just keep stalling out.
Oh man. Yeah. It's a great gothic horror moment.
I mean, come on.
Yes, the house mother sticking her head where it don't belong.
right?
And she's a pretty likable character too. You know, she's kind to the girls. Is a little bit of a drunk. You know, she has little bottles of brandy or whatever it is. That's her tipple. You know, and strategically placed in little hiding spots in the house.
Should I try again? I really wanted to catch the way that shot was done because
Absolutely.
the way they take her out is really well done, and it's like,
Extremely. And once again, very, very similar to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in that, you know, you end up thinking that you're seeing a lot more than you actually are.
oh well. At least you can see the hook that time. At least you can see the hook that time coming at her.
Yes,
you know?
yes. Folks, definitely, if you can get a hold of this movie, check it out. I know it's on Shudder. You could probably watch it on YouTube too.
Yeah, it just sucks that for some reason when we're streaming video out and trying to watch video on this same computer, it's just not doing it.
That's okay, man. We're still trying to get this down. And yes, comics.
Any viewers that are watching at the moment.
We apologize to you for the technical difficulties. Let me take a look at my notes and see if I can find any other interesting bits of trivia that aren't just off the top of my head.
You know, the thing about this movie, though, I mean, it's like today when I watched it again, I had forgot, you know, some of the stuff, and then there were some elements that I just thought were so predictable and so like dumb. You know what I mean?
But they're predictable. They're predictable probably because of all the movies that came out after this that use so many of the same beats.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? This is very ahead of its time.
I was thinking more like with the phone call bit. You know what I mean? All the phone calls. It's like I already suspected they came from the same house.
You're shown in the beginning. You're shown in the beginning. It's never a mystery. So there is that element of this movie that's based on the urban legend of the babysitter and the killer that's calling from inside the house. Right.
Which, you know, Scream rips off at when they do their first.
Well, it doesn't rip it off. It plays with it.
Homages it, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Gives it homage.
Yes.
A nightmare. I dreamed a stranger was coming in my room. I guess that's what gave me asthma. Huh? It's all right. Just relax. Huh? I should be so lucky to have a stranger coming in my room.
She has a premonition.
I should be so lucky if a stranger came in my room.
If she was hot.
It's funny that she plays such a slut in this movie. It's hilarious.
Yeah, she does. But there's also, you know, she's not an unlikable one. You know, she's a sexually liberated woman in 1974, and she's plucky.
Plucky.
Yes.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Plucky.
Yes.
All right. So we're probably going to have to just explain spoilers and like explain how this shit's going on, because I don't think this is going to work with us tonight again.
Yep.
We got spoiled.
Apologies.
Shit worked on with Gary is like, you know. I think this website doesn't have the balls to send it to us either, because it does cut commercials and shit like that, you know, also. So.
Oh, does it? What are you streaming from here?
Tubi, TUBI.
Tubi. Okay.
Tubi. Yeah.
Gotcha. Did you have to pay for this, or is it just readily available on there?
This is the free version, but they kick commercials in you. in on you.
Oh, okay.
Which
That's
is
all right.
which is why it's hard to get it to load in like ahead of time on the video, is because they're doing commercial gauging and shit. So they're not letting me load it in too far ahead. Versus they're really, you know, I'm wondering if like I can somehow do Netflix download on the computer. I know that you can do it on the devices, but I don't think they let me download the videos on the computer from Netflix. That would be cool if I did that, but I don't think
That'd be very cool.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We're living in the days of advanced technology. We can get the kinks out.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about upping my internet connection at some point to the commercial connection. I mean, I really don't need it, but I mean, it's like I'm just going to price check the difference and see if it's worth doing. But yeah. All right, so what next, man? Tell me another area. What do you want to see next? You pick this movie. Come on.
Okay. Let's see. I would say move ahead to the scene with the glass unicorn.
All right, where's that? Let's see.
Or how about the scene where Margot Kidder is talking to the cop and gives the address?
Oh, where's that? See, that's okay.
Because that's funny, and then it pays off later because because it's a joke that's returned to.
Where was that? When was that? That was before she had the asthma attack, right?
I think so. But also, she doesn't just have an asthma attack; she has an actual premonition of her own murder.
Right.
You know, so that's another sort of supernatural element in this. You know, it's too bad that the Internet Movie Database got rid of its forums.
I don't think so. Mrs. Mack would know.
Is her sister's number on this list? Right? How's it going? You about finished?
Yeah, what I've done is I've tapped this phone so that when it rings, it'll ring at the station house too. At the same time, I'll be at the phone company checking on the location of the source of the call. Are there any other phones in the house?
Yes, the house mother has one.
Yeah, but it's another number and they haven't any calls.
You're going to have to keep this guy on the line as long as possible. We've got a mechanical system here, and it takes a while. I know it's not very pleasant.
Girl's gonna say something?
Yeah, high tech.
Go outside?
For back then.
So you've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, sure.
And I love all these outdoor scenes. This movie does feel very chilly. It captures the winter atmosphere, I think, very, very well.
I agree. It makes me feel cold watching it.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've noticed most of the scenes they shoot are outside. Outside they're at night.
Yep.
Just you, Claire's dead. I can just feel it. Come on now, Phil. We don't know that. Poor Mr. Harrison. I feel so sorry for him. Hey. How's Chris? Oh, he's okay. You know, Chris.
Yeah, I don't remember where that scene is. If I had the timeline, I'd be able to get it easier, but it's not cooperating with me to help me remember where's what. I thought that scene where she was fucking with him was right there, but I don't see her in that. So you're laughing at me, aren't you?
No, I'm laughing at that scene. And I'm not the scene where she gives him like the whole gives him the address like such and such Fellatio Drive.
Yeah, that was funny where she's talking. It was not the Fellatio Drive. It was the phone number. She's like Fellatio whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But to me, the funny part is later on when the rest of the cops are just cracking up because it just went right over his head and they're just busting his balls.
Yeah, that was actually a lot earlier, I think. Now I think about it, when she was doing the phone number.
Yep. And Clark, of course, had a penchant for comedy.
she's all like fellatio. Yeah, that's a new dial thing. It's like for what do they call it back then?
It's the address that she gives, like such and such, like 217 fellatio drive.
No, it was fellatio 325 blah 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 because it was it was a phone number. I mean, I remember it like from today from I remember that scene. Yeah, but
interesting bit of trivia that I wasn't aware of. There was a novelization of this movie that was published in 1976, which offered more insight into the characters and more plot development. The book is rare, however, and has since gone out of print. I am definitely going to be looking for that on Google after this. Maybe somebody's got a copy on eBay. I have a good friend who loves this movie even more than I do.
Kitty.
I like looking for like one of the few outdoor scenes that was daytime.
Yeah, they're hard to find. This is very much a movie that takes place at night, and I think on the college campus, that's those are where you have the day scenes.
Here you go. I found it.
Yes, and where Olivia Hussey's character reveals that she is pregnant and she is planning on having an abortion. A lot of people saw some political subtext in this film, but Bob Clark and the writer both insist that there was nothing political in this. Oh, hey, Al Gargoyle. Interesting that the 06 version was produced by Weinstein.
You give me the
Was
number of
it?
the sorority.
Oh, that's funny.
Please.
That dude is going to walk in like Flynn, man. In like Flynn.
Fellatio 20880. Fellatio 20880.
His face.
It's an exchange.
How do you spell it?
How do you spell it?
Capital F E little L LATIO.
Thanks.
Because he's very old-fashioned, and she's fucking with him because he's giving her attitude.
Yeah, this is right before that piano scene and stuff. Yeah, so we jumped it. See the commercial. Remember I told you?
Yeah.
So for you guys who wondering what the heck's going on right now, obviously this is a commercial for the streaming service that we're using. They felt as though they wanted to advertise.
Because Drew didn't do the right thing and buy the Black Christmas Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't have this on Blu-ray. I need to rectify that.
I don't even have a Blu-ray player, man.
Really? Oh man, Blu-ray is freaking amazing. There are certain films, Zombie by Lucio Fulci in particular, where the detail is so sharp that you can notice like little flaws in the makeup. You'll see a little piece of gauze sticking out. Absolutely incredible. I mean, some of the Blu-rays look, basically like the DVDs, but some of them are just pretty astounding. Like watching an old favorite movie in a new way. The Night of the Living Dead restoration from the Museum of Modern Art and is also from the Criterion Collection is beyond impressive.
That's the black and white one you're talking about, right?
Oh yeah, the original Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, it was the Museum of Modern Art actually that put the money into doing a new transfer from the original negative, and you've never seen that movie look that sharp before.
I still want to do those things.
I don't know. Sometimes the acting in horror movies, because of the whole trying to keep the tension.
Yeah.
Because your plans have changed. Be realistic.
Like, let's get
Well,
a
you know, not
Shakespeare.
I can't, Barry.
Sure you can.
you know, not all horror directors are actors directors. George Romero very much was. David Cronenberg is very much an actor's director. And then you have people like Mario Bava, who sort of just leave the actors alone and let them do their job.
All right. What about the baby?
I didn't want to bother you with it, sir.
Oh, you did?
6 Belmont Street. That's where your daughter is. Yes, it is. A high school girl's been murdered. Mr. Harrison's daughter is missing. And now at the house where she lives, the other girls are getting obscene phone calls.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There was a murder that took place off screen that we never see in the film that occurs before the movie begins.
Sure. Thank you, Lieutenant. Yeah, thanks, Ken.
The pimp jacket.
Yeah, man. It's 70s, man. Yeah, and the humorous scenes in this are really funny. Genuinely funny.
Sergeant Nash, could I speak to you for a minute? Yeah, sure. What's this? Oh, that's the number at the sorority house. Felicia. No exchange. Yeah, Felicia. She gave it to you. Yeah. Nash, I don't think you could pick your nose without written instructions.
He still doesn't get it.
Nope. That's what's so funny. Oh, man. Reach out and fuck with someone.
They're just laughing at him. He has no idea why.
Yep.
I know. Something dirty, ain't it?
Yes, thank you, you idiot. Oh.
Something dirty, ain't it?
Yep.
Killing as a baby, so you were having a wart removed.
Yeah, because he's very much of the old world.
Right. Very, just very funny moment. Very funny moment.
Yeah.
It's nice to have some breakup horror, I tell you.
Yep. Well, humor is used a lot in horror. Sometimes too much. A lot of the horror films in the 80s got to the point where they weren't even really horror films anymore. That happened especially with the Evil Dead series. But of course, horror is all about building tension. Then you have some humor, you release the tension, and that kind of sets people up once again to like ratchet up their emotions.
Yeah, horror doesn't always have to be tension, though. Sometimes horror can be, can be fun.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with fun horror. It's just during the 80s you got to a certain point, like something like Return of the Living Dead, for instance, which would be a great movie. A humor in it, but also has some decent horror aspects, as opposed to Return of the Living Dead Part 2, which is just all satire.
Yeah.
And no horror.
No, you need some horror. You definitely need some horror in with the in the humor. I mean,
Yeah. The Nightmare on Elm Street movies, those just became just plain silly. I mean, that's what was so impressive about Hellraiser when it came out. It was the first poker-faced horror movie in years at that point. Although that has some humor in it, too.
yeah, but its humor's light. It's mostly mind fuck stuff. When it throws humor in, it's just to fuck with you.
Yes.
It's to set you up for whatever's coming immediately after.
Yes. As opposed to something like Army of Darkness, which I know most people love. I'm not really crazy about it, which, can't even be marginally called horror.
Well, it's horror genre because it's monsters and and supernatural, and
Yeah, but I'm thinking about tone.
It's a comedy first, then genre, then horror genre. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just annoying me that it's just like one still frame with background noises. It's just
Oh.
Yes, he did. He used several different voices.
I meant to ask you tonight, who was the guy that was leaving when I arrived at your house?
My boyfriend, Peter.
Were you having a fight?
oh, gotta get this scene here.
Oh, yeah, it's a great one. That's a great one. Really eerie. Another random bit of trivia. The role of Peter, I think, was originally offered to Malcolm McDowell, but he turned it down and evidently it's something he still regrets.
Shit. Jennings?
Yeah, they figured it out.
Where the hell are you?
The call's coming from inside the house.
Nash? Nash! Yes, sir? Look, I can't get through to Jennings. I want you to call that girl. Nash, be calm. Don't tell her that the guy's in the house. Just tell her to put down the phone and walk straight out the front door. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Nash, if you blow this, I'll kill you.
Phil? Phil, where are you? Please answer me.
It's a great moment because how do you handle that? How do you get that person to just walk out the door?
Tell them to walk out the door.
Yeah, in which case they're going to ask you, well, why?
It's Jess.
Miss Bradford, Business Sergeant Nash. Are you the only one in the house?
No. Phil and Barbara upstairs asleep. Why?
No, there's a serial killer
All right.
upstairs.
Now I want you to do exactly what I tell you without asking any questions, okay? No questions. Now just put the phone back on the hook, walk to the front door, and leave the house.
What's wrong?
Please, Miss Bradford, please.
Exactly. Walk out of the house. Why?
Don't do that!
You're not the boss of me.
Yes.
See, I would have tried some kind of a trick.
In the house. The calls are coming from the house. Yes! Yes! Get up!
Staying after that point seems really stupid to me. Who the fuck does she think she is?
But she doesn't want to abandon her friend either.
Yeah, well, her friend's dead.
But she doesn't know that.
She should know that.
Yeah, but she's gonna put 2 and 2 together. But it's also understandable. Not wanting to leave your friend behind.
Please answer me.
That's why it was foolish for him to tell her that the killer's in the house.
Phil! Please!
what the cop should have said is, what she said, my friends are upstairs already. No, they're not. They're already outside. Why don't you come out and join us?
Exactly. Yeah. like the officers outside wants to have a chat with you. You can just step outside and have a chat with them.
Right. Yeah, I'm a modern woman. I'm going to grab myself a fire poker and take on a serial killer.
See, this is the part where you'd love to watch this movie in like 1974 Times Square with like a predominantly black audience, and they'd be screaming at the screen, "Bitch, run!"
How girl don't go in there?
Don't open that door! Bitch, move!
You stupid white bitch.
Bob? You?
Oh, there she goes with the poker. And making a lot of noise so the killer knows exactly where she is.
Well, yeah, but the killer's right there.
Right.
You tell what we did.
Oh, great shot.
You missed it, but he snatches her by the hair.
Yeah. But she still doesn't get a good look at him. And neither do we.
Right.
All we see is that eye. And Nick Mancuso doing a very good job of sounding like a complete maniac.
Maybe it wasn't a lot of work. Maybe he's like that in real life. Maybe it's what he sounds when he has an orgasm.
Right.
It's like, how'd you get that noise, man? How'd you do that? I was just jerked off.
like I said, was standing on his head to like constrict his larynx.
Erotic asphyxiation.
Well, it's like Mercedes McCambridge for The Exorcist, evidently, would smoke like 1,000 cigarettes until she got her voice just right.
Then, of course, let's just tell them the spoiler here. So, where is it at?
That's right, folks. If you're still with us, you're getting the spoiler.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't seen this yet, shame on you. Shame on you. No, I shouldn't say that. If you've seen the remakes and you haven't seen this, shame on you.
Right.
I was actually on a Facebook group, a horror group, that right before I unsubscribed, I asked the people, why do you prefer watching the remakes? Why do you watch the remakes and you don't watch the originals? And they're like, well, why would I watch the original? The new one's like the same thing, but better.
Here we go. So we can get this to play. Here comes the spoiler, everybody. Close your eyes if you're not interested.
Yes. Yep. Look away.
I swear this sucks.
I know, dude. I know. Don't worry about it. It's okay. We'll make it up to the people. We'll figure this out.
Are they gonna even show us the scene that's the spoiler?
Oh, and the very ending, the end credits in particular are just fantastic. Because the movie continues during the end credits.
Come on. Come on.
Well, you're gonna have to jump. You're gonna probably have to jump a bit ahead.
There we go. There's the spoiler.
Yeah, so she's killed her boyfriend Peter, bludgeoned him to death with a fireplace poker, believing him to be the murderer.
Right. And he gets blamed for it.
Yep.
I knew it. My gut, it was that kid. Why would Peter start killing people? I don't know. He must have made a call after each murder. It's hard to believe Jess would kill anybody, much less Peter. She's under. How long do you think it'll be before I can talk to her? Just a couple questions.
Yeah. Peter got blamed for it because he played the piano crazy.
Yeah. And then didn't he chop it up with an axe or something?
Did he?
Yeah, I think there's a scene where he destroys the piano. We see him getting more and more unhinged. And then, of course, his girlfriend's pregnant. He wants her to have the baby. She doesn't want to have it. So that's like more of him getting squeezed more and more and more.
Fucking stupid freezing the. Come on.
Yes. The killer is still in the house. Stacking the bodies up. That eerie shot of the first victim.
Right, up in the attic, like no one found her. They didn't search that far of the house.
Yep. Shrink wrapped.
Yeah, that's pretty shoddy police work, if you ask me.
Yeah, no shit.
You didn't
Very
think
much
about searching the. It didn't occur to you to search the attic at all.
Cops aren't that bright, though. Cops aren't that bright in my experience.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sitting through that junky stream
And listening to us yap. But yeah. Folks, definitely check this out. If you haven't seen it, definitely give it a whirl. It is I know Drew doesn't like it as much as I do. That's fine. But definitely,
I liked it, but it was missing some of the elements that I wait for in this kind of slasher movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's an older one, so you know what I mean. But
it's the original. Really, it's the original.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, it depends on like there's at this particular year, 1974. There's a shitload. You know what I mean? So it's like
right after this, because it was Halloween that set off the 80s slasher genre, and of course Halloween opens almost exactly like this,
right?
With the POV shot and everything. But then, of course, there are other films that are considered. Well, I think the very first POV killer actually was in 1960, Peeping Tom, which is one of the great towering classics of the genre, which definitely any serious horror fan should check out.
Yeah, definitely. So, if no one has nightmares tonight, good for you.
Indeed.
Now, Bay of Blood, I believe,
Yes.
is the one that gets the credit for having the first slasher movie, though.
Yeah, by Mario Bava.
Yeah, it's 1971. So
yeah, that's the one that clearly has the largest influence on Friday the 13th, whereas this has more of an influence on Halloween.
all right. And then Texas Chainsaw Massacre is also a 1974 movie. So yeah. So both
there was definitely something in the air.
Yeah. So I would say that this one and that one tie almost for slasher, release.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would consider. It's interesting because I have my friend Chris is very much into slasher films, and we often have the discussion of like, well, how do you define a slasher, and does this count as a slasher? Is this more of a proto slasher, et cetera, et cetera?
I think a slasher movie technically should be one that actually uses like knives specifically. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That would be cool. That would be a cool like rule. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of slasher movies that don't just use knives. So
absolutely. And then there's the Italian giallo, which could be considered, many of which could be considered slasher films.
Yeah.
Although they're usually in their own genre, the giallo, which means yellow in Italian, because those are inspired by tawdry old pulp magazines, Italian pulp novels that had yellow covers.
Well, so any leftover trivia? Anything else you want to say about this movie?
Just real quick. Just want to take a look at my notes here, see if I can find some stuff that I didn't know. Yes, composer Carl Zitterer, that's the person that did the soundtrack, said in an interview that he created the bizarre music score for the film by tying forks, combs, and knives to the strings of his piano so the sound would warp as he struck the keys. Zitterer also said he would distort the sound further by recording audio tape while putting pressure on the reels of the machine to make it turn slower. But Bob Clark in a Q&A said that he had no inspiration for the film's concept and that it was a completely original idea for him and Roy Moore. The only thing that inspired the film was the actual series of murders that occurred in Montreal.
Yeah. Creepy as hell.
Creepy as hell. Really, really creepy. And like I said, definitely worth checking out. An absolute must if you're a horror fan.
Yeah, if you're gonna consider yourself a horror fanatic of any kind,
yeah,
this is one of those movies you have to have under your belt.
Yes.
Even though it has its slow moments, and by today's horror movie standards, a lot of that shit you would probably like. Oh, what the fuck? But you got to remember the time that it was done.
Yeah, I mean, I still just think I like the pacing of this movie, but it's definitely measured. It's definitely has it's a slow burn.
Yeah, if you got to make sure that you're not like I've seen this before, so I thought that I was comfortable doing like something else while I was refreshing myself with it today, and. There were things that we talked about today I don't even remember seeing in my refresh, which means that I was easily distracted from what was going on.
Yeah,
which is something that I don't like about movies. You know what I mean? If a movie's really good, it won't let me get away. You know what I mean? Even as like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though there's like elements of that are like extremely B movie. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It still holds my attention the entire time. Like,
it's gripping.
What horrific thing is going to happen next?
Yes, grabs you by the short hairs and doesn't let go.
Right.
Yeah, but that's a ruthless one.
I love that kind of movie.
Yeah, no, so do I. They're far and few in between. Night of the Living Dead. That's another one that grabs you by the short hairs and doesn't let go. That's out to get you.
or they just keep the story short and sweet. They cut out any of the bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Carrie would be a great example of that one. The first one that we reviewed. Carrie's like it's just
Very lean. Very lean.
it's like no bullshit. You jump right from interesting moment to interesting moment, and everything is like building on the story, and you want to watch every bit of it because if you miss anything, you feel like you've missed something big.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. All right. Well, we're going to call it. We've been at this for an hour and 15 minutes. This is actually like one of our shorter streams, but it's Christmas. So
it's Christmas time wherever you are.
It's Christmas time in Holland, Queens. No, okay. So
Mom's cooking chicken and collard greens. One of my go-tos.
Yes. Dun, 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 dun.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, that's on a heavy rotation in my crib come Christmas time.
Yeah, very special Christmas when that was done too. A lot of people don't realize that was actually like on the first of those Christmas albums from that chain.
That's right. Yeah.
It was written for that Christmas album. That's what it was.
Right.
I just thought a lot of people don't realize that. That's just amazing stuff. You know what I mean? It's like that album. That album also had the version of Bon Jovi's. The name of that was it? I forget the name of the one that Bon Jovi was doing, but it was a Bon Jovi Christmas classic, and then of course Madonna's version of Santa Baby was also on that album.
The one that I still love that always really touches my heart is Bing Crosby and David Bowie doing the Little Drummer Boy.
Yeah, that's touching.
Yeah, it is. So we hope that you all have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas to all our Christian viewers. Happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish peeps.
Yeah, today is the first day of Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah to you, people that are I don't know. There's nothing different about you fuckers. You just don't believe in Jesus the same way we do. So.
Right. Blessed Yule to all my pagan peeps. I don't know if you have any pagan peeps. I have quite a few. That's what you get when you're in the New York City goth scene. That's for sure. They as many goth chicks as I have.
Pagans!
Yep.
That's funny. I laugh at some of that. I mean that's rebellion. That's just rebellion.
I know. Well, yeah. But whatever. It's all good. Whatever you believe or don't believe, if you're a heathen atheist, we love you too, and hope that you have a happy new year.
Yeah, and hope you don't mind when you burn in hell. That's all. Just just so you know.
Don't worry about it, folks. You got nothing to worry about. God is okay with you. If you're a good person, you're a good person, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, but it's still fun to bust people's balls.
Yes, it is.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming, and Merry Christmas, and and then Christmas is Jesus' birthday. So when the 25th comes around, put your thoughts on him just for a few moments at least. That's all I ask. All
Absolutely.
right,
Prince of Peace.
Podcast. Bye.
Peace, love, and soul.